हरे कृष्ण। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्म सदान्तिकम्। देहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः। ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते। वदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरदशे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। सप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे हरे। Rajvidya Rajaguhya Yoga, the most confidential knowledge. Okay, 5 sections of the chapter. 1 to 3, hearing about Krishna, qualifications and disqualifications. 4 to 10, Krishna's Achintya Beda relationship with the material world.
जगदीश्वर मोहन प्रभु, हरे कृष्ण जगदीश्वर मोहन प्रभु।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
बहुत यार, अपन ही अपन एक काम करते हैं, क्लास अपन ही सुन लेते हैं, क्लास तो गए प्रभु, लगता है नेटवर्क प्रॉब्लम हो गया उनको। एक तो यार कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है। एक तो यार ना मैं
ऐसा है।
वेला में हूँ, यहाँ पे नेटवर्क का इतना प्रॉब्लम है, इंटरनेट नहीं है, मोबाइल नहीं है, पूरा टेंशन।
वही
ऊपर
मैं
यहाँ पे
पूछने वाला
सेवा
था
है।
आपको, आप किधर हैं? इधर कोने कोने में भटकते रहते हैं, मैं सोचा किधर हैं ये।
अरे प्रभु, यहाँ पे कंस्ट्रक्शन का सेवा चल रहा है। यहाँ पे कुक भाग गया है, पुजारी भाग गया है, अभी 3 बार का कुकिंग करना पड़ता है। अभी जाके मैं
अरे
कुकिंग करके आया,
बाप
बीच में
रे।
फट से प्रसाद लिया। और लेबर लोग है ना, तो
हाँ।
25-30 लोगों का खाना बनाना होता है। तो कुक नहीं है ना, असिस्टेंट है, असिस्टेंट और कुक दोनों गए हैं घर। तो वो
फिर
पूरा कुकिंग करना था, सवेरे दोपहर शाम का। फिर बाकी का सेवा होता है ना, क्लीनिंग, इधर क्लीनिंग उधर क्लीनिंग, सब बहुत सारी
हाँ।
चीजें रहती है। तो इसलिए इधर से उधर घूमते रहता हूँ, ये कर लो। और
एक
आज
एक
जाने
बार।
वाला था वापस।
हाँ।
पर फिर प्रभु जी बोले और थोड़ा रह जाओ, अगर ऑनलाइन कर सकते तो। बोला हाँ कर सकते हैं प्रभु जी, कोई इशू नहीं। तो प्रभु जी बोले रुक जाओ 1 हफ्ता और 3-4 दिन, बाकी का बचा हुआ काम कर लो। हम बोले ठीक है प्रभु जी।
तो आपके जाने के बाद कैसे होगा?
नहीं आ जाएंगे ना, 16 तारीख को आ रहा है एक, आज 16 है ना। बैठने वाला है, आज आने वाला है, एक हो जाएगा तो बहुत सारा कुकिंग वगैरह सब हो जाता है ना उधर का,
ओ।
राजभोग मंगल भोग वगैरह। तो एक पूजा रहेगा तो काफी हो जाएगा, और ये दूसरा फिर वो लोग थोड़े फ्री हो जाएंगे ना,
हम्म।
तो इश्यू नहीं रहेगा। और श्री चैतन्य सर वो आज आ गए हैं, तो वो भी पुजारी सेवा कर लेंगे थोड़ा। तो मेनली कुकिंग के लिए कोई नहीं है, सिर्फ कुकिंग करना होता
आगे।
है। आगे क्या।
हरे कृष्ण।
Okay, let's recite the first verse again. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam tu te guyyatamam pravakshyamyanasuyave Jnanam Vijnana Sahitam Yashyatva Mokshase Shubhat. The Supreme Personality of God has said, my dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. Mr. Krishna is telling here, is going to give the most confidential knowledge, idam tu te guyyatamam. So why he is giving to Arjuna? Because he is anasuyave, he is free from envy. And therefore he is going to give jnana vijnana sahitam, both knowledge as well as realization. And what is the benefit of knowing? Yaj gyatva mokshate, you will become free from ashubhat. Ashubhat is everything that's inauspicious. And what is inauspicious? The material world is inauspicious. Right? So one will become free from the miseries of material existence. Now, Srila Prabhupada is given some very important points in this purport. As the devotee hears more and more about the Supreme Lord, he becomes enlightened. This hearing process is recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. So one has to hear more and more. Then one can become enlightened. So not that I have read once, I've heard once. So therefore, keep it as it is. No, one has to keep on hearing. The more one hears, the more one will become enlightened. So I think so you heard this last time from His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj. Prabhupada was speaking on so there was one devotee who could not understand. So Prabhupada said, read again. You remember? So like that, Srila Prabhupada made this devotee read the same thing 3-4 times. And at the end of that, the devotee said, I understood. Ah, correct. Moon is closer than the sun. Moon is closer. Yes. So, so the point is, and Prabhupada writes it in a purport also somewhere, that if you don't understand something, you simply read it again. So by reading again and again, by hearing again and again, then Krishna, he appreciates the sincerity of purpose, and then Krishna reveals. So therefore, Prabhupada is saying here, the more you hear, the more you become enlightened. So now the next question that may arise is, but after hearing one time, second time, कैसा लगता है? Boring. Boring लगता है ना? आप तो आनंद में रहते हैं, लेकिन हमारे जैसे बदलों के लिए तो बोरिंग लगता है. क्यों लगता है? हाँ, तो ऐसे क्यों लगता है? थोड़े जोर से बोलो ना, थोड़ा. हाँ वही. सीरियल material education has trained our mind that every day everything should be new. Yeah. So in material education, every time you hear new, at least the namesake it will be new. Come on, what you're saying? You pass from one. So what in your engineering subjects, nothing is repeated? All engineers here, what do you say? Nothing is repeated? One or two go, but only one or two books we did not read for years. The name will be changed, but content will be same. So that means it's repeated, no? It's repeated, but external point of view, wanted new things. Just like movies also people watch, but same thing will be there, but different name they keep, but they will. That's okay, but you are giving example of material education. So in material education, you keep hearing the same thing, no? Or old wine in new bottle. Like that only, but there are also that concept. Okay, that is material consciousness. Material consciousness means we want something new every time. Correct, that is true. So what is the cause for feeling that repetition? Just now you said material consciousness. Because of material consciousness, one feels things to be repetitive. Because in material consciousness, then after hearing once, reading once, every time one wants something new. That is material consciousness. So therefore, as you rightly said, whether it's engineering or medical or any other studies, how much do people like to study? Most people don't like to study, correct? Just for sake of passing the exam, getting certificates, and then getting a job. क्या बोल रहे? Oh, that is common in your place. So for that, people somehow they study. Otherwise, everyone is bored, correct? Everyone is bored of study. Nobody likes to study. Not boring. Now, if you bring the same material consciousness here, then the same thing will happen. And after some time, God bless. हाँ वो अजाब और उसके पहले भी सुन लिया था. So now, how to get out of this consciousness? How to experience the newness of Krishna consciousness? How to experience? Every time one reads, it appears to be fantastically new. Huh? Okay, discussing. Boleh? Okay, that's correct. See, you didn't understand the question. So that means you're saying that somebody has realized I'm body, I'm not. Then you're saying if somebody has realized, then he'll feel bored. That's what you're saying, because he's already realized.
Hearing with respect and
Somebody is saying something from the sky.
Prabhuji, hearing with all due respect and reverence for the position of the Supreme Lord, if we hear again and again also, that thing will be revealed in our heart.
Okay, good point. Okay, good point. Hearing with reverence, respect. Okay. Something more? How can we feel the subject matter to be new? Submissive all reception. Good point. Good point. Krishna is always new, but how to experience that newness? Okay, so you have the laptop there open. Four 30:20. And give the mic to him. Three zero. Yes. Starting, a devotee is inspired by the super soul within the heart to advance in devotional service in a variety of ways. The devotee does not feel hackneyed or stereotyped, nor does he feel that he is in a stagnant position. In the material world, if one engages in chanting a material name, he will feel tired after chanting a few times. However, one can chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra all day and night and never feel tired. As chanting is increased, it will come out new and fresh. Srila Rupa Goswami said that if he could somehow get millions of ears and tongues, then he could relish spiritual bliss by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. There is really nothing uninspiring for a highly advanced devotee. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that He is situated in everyone's heart and that He helps the living entity forget and remember. By the grace of the Lord, the devotee gets inspiration. Esam satata yuktanam bhajatam preti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. As stated, Kusala Karmanam, those engaged in auspicious activities in devotional service are guided by the Super Soul, described in this verse as Yah, one who knows everything past, present, and future. The Super Soul gives instructions to the sincere, unalloyed devotee on how he can progress more and more in approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Jiva Goswami in this connection says that the Super Soul, the plenary expansion of the Personality of Godhead, exists in everyone's heart. But in the heart of the devotee, he reveals himself as ever increasingly new. Being inspired by him, the devotee experiences increased transcendental bliss in the execution of his devotional service. So what has Prabhupada said here? How to experience the newness? Yes, the Lord reveals himself in different ways. To whom? Yes, to the sincere, unalloyed devotee. So when one practices sincere, unalloyed devotional service, then Krishna reveals himself in newer and newer ways. Because Krishna is ever new, ever fresh, Nava Yovanam. So every time one sees Krishna, he appears to be new. So if one is practicing sincere, unalloyed devotional service, then Krishna, who is there as Super Soul, he reveals him everything as new and fresh. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was hearing from the same speaker, the same story. Correct? Who was the speaker? Gadadhar Pandit. And he was hearing the same story. At least one thing, the speaker change over. But just imagine, same speaker, same story, hundreds of times. So therefore, the important point is that when one is in that right consciousness, then Krishna reveals everything as new. And this is a very common question that is asked. And this is a very common problem that devotees face. Oh, Prabhupada's books are talking the same thing again and again. Now we want some new nectar. And then people go searching here and get into the wrong zone. But if one is sincere, unalloyed devotional service, then one can read the same purports again and again, the same statements again and again, and still every time one reads, there is something new. It's a fact. Because Krishna within the heart, Dadami Buddhi Yoga, he reveals that. So therefore, if you are therefore Prabhupada writes, there is nothing uninspiring for a highly advanced devotee. Nothing uninspiring. If Srila Prabhupada is reading his own books, unheard of that a writer reads his own books. Prabhupada is reading. So, therefore, if we are feeling that sort of boredom, if we're feeling that sort of things being repetitive, hackneyed, there is no juice coming out, then one has to introspect within one's own consciousness and see whether one is practicing sincere, unalloyed devotional service. Because that's the key. Sincere means what? What does sincere mean? Yes, without ulterior motive. Maybe you heard it, how this sincere comes from the Greek word sincera. You heard that? No? Yes, without wax. So give the mic to. I think read when I was at school. It's something they used to adulterate it with wax. Okay, so they would make marble statues, but in order to make things cheap, then they would adulterate with wax, because wax looks like marble, right? So in between in the marble statues, they would put some wax. And then, of course, in the summertime, the wax would melt and things would be exposed. But the point is, so sin means without, sera means wax, without wax, without the contamination of wax. So basically, sincere means without contamination. So, and that's exactly the same. Of course, unalloyed also means the same. So basically, without ulterior motive. That's very important, as we have been discussing many times. Motive should be clear, goal should be clear. Want to please Krishna. The more one is practicing that type of devotional service, then then nothing uninspiring. And so therefore we find that in Vrindavan, the residents of Vrindavan, they can keep looking at Krishna, see his beauty for eternity. It's not that they get bored. And the cowherd boys, every day they're going to the pasturing ground and they're doing the same activity. So practically, it appears that everyone is doing the same activity day in and day out. For how long? Eternity. So somebody once asked me, "Oh, for eternity, same thing. Both new. Eternity, same activity. कुछ तो variety चाहिए ना?" Here we find somebody is told the same service, same activity every day. कुछ तो break. थोड़ा out. So that's all a material conception, material consciousness. But in spiritual consciousness, it apparently appears to be the same activity, but in actuality, it is new. Every moment is new. Within the same activity, there is so much of newness. Prabhupada gives a common example, the Hare Krishna Mass. So we are able to stand. Some austerity is there, but if we are able to. So that's the spiritual nature of these spiritual things. That one is, they don't appear to be boring. But then to access the spiritual nature of these spiritual things, one has to be in spiritual consciousness. Then one can access that spiritual nature. Otherwise, in material consciousness, one cannot access. And then things become boring. So therefore, that's a symptom of material consciousness. If one is feeling things to be boring. Okay, so the messages of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are full of potency. And these potencies can be realized if topics regarding the Supreme Godhead are discussed among devotees. This cannot be achieved by the association of mental speculators or academic scholars, for it is realized knowledge. Another important point. So the messages are full of potency. Why? Why? भगवान के बारे में तो क्या हुआ? Yes, non-different from Krishna. Namna Makari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shakti. So anything in connection to Krishna is non-different from Krishna and is therefore full of potencies. But how these potencies can be realized? Yes, discussion amongst devotees. So that is why we are discussing. So in the association of devotees in this discussion, then these spiritual potencies of the Lord are realized. Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti ratanna rasayana sada tajosna dasa pavarga Saddha, Rati, Bhakti, Nukram. Therefore, Satam. And I'm sure all of us have that experience. Reading alone and discussion and the association of devotees is not the same, correct? You agree or no? It is definitely I agree. So that's the main purpose of taking classes, so that I get your association. So that in the association, then we all get the benefit. So this is the process to realize these potencies of the Lord, which are there within this Krishna Katha. And this cannot be achieved by any other association, mental speculators, academic scholars. So therefore, okay, Jaydev Prabhu, the person who did PhD on Gita Goswami, Gita Govind, and yet could not understand anything about it. Why? They're all mental speculators. Therefore, there's no understanding, there's no realization. So, for it is realized knowledge. So this is realized knowledge. It is not simply bookish knowledge. So therefore, for the realization to actually manifest, then the discussion amongst devotees is principal. And therefore, we find that towards the end of the Gita, Krishna tells that this Gita must be discussed only in the association of devotees and not among the non-devotees. Because only in the association of devotees who are non-envious. That is the important thing. So because the devotees are non-envious, therefore when discussed, then Krishna, he helps the devotees to realize. Therefore the discussion in the association of the very important. So we must be eager for these discussions in the association. So sometimes devotees think that, oh, what difference it makes? I will sit in my room and I will eat and I will sleep. And why should I come here in the association of devotees? So it can apply to any class. We may think, why even morning Bhagavatam class? Maybe I can read the Bhagavatam myself. Why should I come to the Bhagavatam? One point is this, what Prabhupada is writing here, that the potencies of the Supreme Lord are realized in the association. And the second point is, by attending these classes, we are following Srila Prabhupada. And therefore we find advanced senior devotees, then they come regularly, despite whoever may be given. It's fine. You see in Mayapur, Vijayanwas Prabhu, they've been singing since so many years. Doesn't matter whoever is giving class. He may be a kid in front of him. But still, he comes regularly, every day, unless he has something. Because, in fact, somebody asked him once, why? And his simple answer was, because Srila Prabhupada wants. Just Prabhupada and stuff. And in the Bhagavatam class, we read that in stuff. Prabhupada's letter. And you remember what Prabhupada wrote towards the end of that letter? What? Yes, by following these Vaishnava standards lies the spiritual potency of our mode. Same thing here. The potencies of the Supreme Lord are realized by following these instructions, by these discussions in the associate class. Therefore, Prabhupada was so insistent about this. I don't know how many of you have heard this lecture. The lecture is entitled, "Don't be a better Paramahamsa than your Guru Maharaj." Heard? You can hear? This was the point he was making. So Srila Prabhupada saw that some of his disciples are not coming for the classes. So then Srila Prabhupada said, I myself am sitting in my disciples' class. And why some of the devotees are not coming? Then he says, don't try to become better Paramahamsa than your Guru Maharaj. So these are all very important instructions. And they are very potent instructions. You don't understand the potency in these apparently simple activities. That's why bhakti sometimes appears to be deceptively simple. So we think, what is there? I can sit and read. Oh, that person there, he'll speak the same thing. I know better than him. Why should I go? These are all great misconceptions. These are all tricks of Maya. But we should understand what is the potency. Prabhupada is writing here. The messages of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are full of potencies, and these potencies can be realized if topics regarding the Supreme Godhead are discussed among devotees. So, therefore, we read just now in a previous purport, we read Prabhupada writes that pure devotional service is very simple. He says it many times. It's very simple. And it's a fact, it's very simple. But actually, Prabhupada did mention something somewhere that it can be missed. So somebody thinks, oh, what is this? Why should I just go and attend that class? What difference is it? It is simply the problem of the false ego. The false ego says, oh, you're a big preacher, you know so much. That some neophyte is giving class, why you should go? That is what the mind says. But then one is missing out on the great realization that could be revealed by following the instructions of the Atma. Therefore, one does not have to invent something new. One does not have to imagine something. Simply follow the instructions. The simple instructions that Srila Prabhupada has given, simply follow. And that's why we read that letter. Prabhupada said, within these instructions lies the spiritual potency of the moment. We just have to have faith. And those who have faith, They follow and they get the best. Those who think they're very smart, then they lose out on the amazing realization that could be revealed. So, yeah. Now, the next statement. The devotees are constantly engaged in the Supreme Lord's service. This is the qualification of the devotee. What is the qualification? Constantly engaged in the Supreme Lord's service. 24 hours. Then the next statement. The Lord understands the mentality and sincerity of a particular living entity who is engaged in Krishna consciousness and gives him the intelligence to understand the signs of Krishna in the association of devotees. You see how many times Prabhupada is writing association of devotees. We can never cheat Krishna. He is there as Paramatma. What can we cheat? We can cheat the whole world. Or as Srila Prabhupada said, the English saying, one can cheat all people for some time or some people all the time. But one cannot cheat all the people at all the time. And surely that applies for the Paramatma. One can never cheat the Paramatma at any time. One can make a big show of so-called sincerity and cheat the world. But where is the question of cheating the Paramatma? So sometimes one may think that, okay, I won't go for class, I won't go for Mangalarti. Anyway, the authorities will not come to know. If they come to know, I will tell some excuse, such a smart excuse that they will be convinced that I am a sincere devotee. So one can play around like that. But who can cheat the super? There's no question. See, such a basic Siddhanta which we hear about, read about, frankly, from the beginning of our devotional service, that there is super soul, there is Paramatma, the two birds on the tree. How many times a year? The two birds on the tree, one bird is eating the fruit, the other bird is watching. They have explained it so many times to so many people. Are we convinced that it's Paramatma? All glory. But we do find that devotees sometimes write Bhakti Shastri tests regarding the Paramatma, copying from somebody else. So what does it mean? Yeah, there's no realization of the fact. So theoretical. So therefore, we have to be convinced of this fact. Very simple fact. But let's be convinced. You can't keep the person. So that's what Prabhupada is writing here. That the Lord understands the mentality and sincerity of a particular living entity who's engaged in this process. And then when he understands the mentality and sincerity, how he reciprocates? By giving intelligence. So depending on that, ye yasamam prapadyante, then based upon that, then he gives the intelligence intelligence to understand the signs of Krishna in the association of devotees. Then one can understand. Otherwise, without Krishna giving that realization and understanding, it is not possible for us to understand, because this is transcendental subject matter, it's not material subject. So therefore, Krishna has to give the understanding and the realization. But again, Prabhupada is emphasizing that this will happen in the association of devotees. And again, Prabhupada writes in the next statement, he repeats it. The discussion of Krishna is very potent, and if a fortunate person has such association and tries to assimilate the knowledge, then he will surely make advancement towards spiritual religion. Again, the discussion of Krishna is very potent, but again, it has to be done in association. Then he can assimilate the knowledge. What is the meaning of assimilate? Somebody just said it. Yes, absorb. So we can eat food, and in the stomach, digestion takes place. But in the intestine, assimilation. So all the important nutrients, they're absorbed, they're assimilated from the food into the blood. So that, if that assimilation does not take place, what will be the result? No strength. Digestion has taken place, but sometimes due to lack of certain enzymes, hormones, assimilation does not take. Then what will happen? Yes, no strength, because the nutrients are not being absorbed. So same thing will happen. We'll also be undernourished if the assimilation does not take place. Therefore, it is not how many volumes of books we have read that makes one spiritually realized. One can read volumes and volumes of books, but if the assimilation does not take place, then it will all simply remain on the theoretical platform. Then there won't be realization. So, but when will the assimilation take place? In the association of devotees. So therefore, there is Shravanam. Then after Shravanam, what is that? Second stage, Mananam. And third stage is Nididhyasana. What is Nididhyasana? Yes. So first one hears. Mananam is contemplation. So one contemplates on what one has heard. And if there is contemplation, then one will try to apply. If there is no contemplation, then one will not make much effort to apply. ठीक है, कुछ तो सुन लिया. Good. Then you have to think. The contemplation is, what have I heard? Can I apply? What will be the obstacles in application? So that contemplation has to be there. And then when one applies, then there'll be realization. So that is the meaning of assimilate the knowledge. So just hearing, just reading, that's also good, no doubt. The purification, because it's all constant purification. But then one has to go a step ahead. And then, because the realization takes place by application. That is how the realization. And already we quoted 6.8, I think, so many times. So realization comes by grace. And here also Prabhupada has written mentality, sincerity. So when one has to seriously consider how to apply. What is the ultimate goal? We just read that statement Prabhupada has written. The study of the Vedas. Let's see how many remember the statement. The study of the Vedas is not meant for armchair speculation, but for the formation of character. Character means what? Formation of character means what? There has to be some transformation. And the transformation is going to come only by application. So that's the ultimate goal of all this study. There has to be some change. There has to be some transformation. Or somebody may say, oh, I studied all Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, everything I finished. But then if there is no transformation, what is the use? The ultimate purpose is transformation. To have a character that is pleasing to the Lord. The goal. So, one has to assimilate the knowledge in the association of devotees, and then there will be spiritual realization. So, and then, okay, then he talks about Guhya, Guhyatara, Guhyatama. So that he talks about. We'll just come to that in a minute. But then, another important statement in the next paragraph. In the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, it is said that although one who has a sincere desire to render loving service to the Supreme Lord is situated in the conditional state of material existence, he is to be considered liberated. Many times devotees ask this question, who is a pure devotee? We are supposed to associate with pure devotees, correct? Who is on the liberated platform? It is said one should accept only a liberated soul as a spiritual master. Who is on the liberated? Here, Prabhupada is explaining. The desire to render loving service to the Supreme Lord is situated in the conditional state of material existence. He is to be considered liberated. We shall find in the Bhagavad Gita 10th chapter that anyone who is engaged in that way is a liberated person. So what is the qualification to be on the liberated platform? Sincere desire to render what? Loving service. That is what it is. If somebody has a sincere desire to render loving service, he may not be on the liberated platform. He is still in the conditioned state. But he is to be considered liberated because he is following the path of liberation. Who is a pure devotee? One who is following the path of pure devotional service is to be considered a pure devotee, even though he may not be fully purified. So if somebody has a sincere desire to render loving service, it's just a matter of time that he is going to be on the liberated platform. Therefore, he is to be considered liberated. Therefore, it all boils down to sincerity of purpose. And therefore, Prabhupada has, in both purports and lectures, repeated these words, sincere and serious, so many times. That is what it is. If one has a sincerity, then it's just a matter of time. And so, one aspect of that sincerity is anasuyave, non-envy. So, So we find envy is the cause of material existence. Which verse? Yes, it's not dvesh to some extent. Dvesh, envy. So that is the cause of material existence, and therefore, even when I come to devotional service, very deep-rooted envy. So in the association of devotees, why we tend to become envious of others? Okay, selfish motives. Okay, past conditioning is fine. Everyone has past conditioning. Anyone who is in the material world has to have envy. But why do we maintain the envy in the association of devotees? Correct. Because we fail to see the hand of Krishna in everything that. So somebody has something more, that is the cause. Why somebody becomes envious? Somebody has something more. He can sing better, he can cook better, he can manage better. So somebody has something better than what I have, I tend to become envious. But if we simply understand this fact, he can. Krishna has given him. Krishna has given him something more. Krishna has given me something more. It's all Krishna's ultimate plan. So be satisfied with whatever Krishna is. Just as Krishna says later on in the 17th chapter, this is the austerity of the mind. Satisfaction. Santushta. This is the austerity of the mind. The mind is always craving. Oh, I want this, I want this. Yes, this, I want that. All the time. So then we have to pacify the mind. Hey, mind. Very important quality for devotee, brahmana. Because if the mind is dissatisfied, then very difficult to focus on the Lord. And the mind is always craving. During chanting all the time, the mind will say, I want this, I want this. Okay. How does the envy manifest? What are the symptoms of envy? Yes, one of the main symptoms is criticism and blasphemy. Why? Yes, bring the other person down. So one thinks by criticism and blasphemy, I'll pull that person down. And then my position will automatically go up. That's what one imagines. But it doesn't work that way. So if I try to pull somebody down, I also remain down on. How can I go up? If I try to push somebody up, then I also go up. So therefore, yes, but this is the way envy tends to manifest, and criticism and blasphemy. And of course, the Shastra is filled with examples. Name a few examples. Yes, Daksha was envious of Lord Shiva. Yes, Indra and Prithu Maharaj. You see examples? Today morning only we heard Ramchandra Khan, envious of Haridas Thakur. And there was Ramchandra Puri also. He was envious of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was envious of all the devotees. He was finding faults with it. Yes, Gopal Chapal was envious of Srivastava. So many examples. Because this is material world. So therefore, even in the association of devotees, these tendencies do come up. But here, Krishna is telling to Arjuna, I'm giving you this knowledge because you are non. So that means if we are envious of someone, we cannot understand Krishna. Because envy towards any living entity, Srila Prabhupada explains this, envy towards any living entity is envy towards Krishna. Because every living entity is. And if we are envious towards Krishna, how can we hear about Krishna? Oh, I'm sure we have this experience. If you are envious of someone and somebody glorifies him in front of you, huh? Say it loudly. Blood boil. Yeah. One cannot tolerate how this fellow is glorifying him of all the people in the world. Or कोई? And that is why hearing about Krishna is such an auspicious. Because there's envy. Therefore, we hear about Krishna, glorification of Krishna. Mind says, oh, once again. Better let me sleep. That's what happens. Because there's no taste. If somebody is glorifying oneself, will one go to sleep? What one will think? Keep on. Yes. And I wish I had millions of years to hear this amazing. And he has millions of tongues. Go on with the glorification. And why we don't feel the taste? The same taste when we hear about Krishna. It's only because of envy. So, therefore, if we want to actually understand Krishna, then one has to get rid of the envy. How can we get rid of that? Okay, appreciate other devotees. Appreciate Krishna, even though it is an aspect. Glorify him. What else? Yes, very important point. By seeing the hand of Krishna and everything that's happening. Yes. And okay, yes, very important. Serve those who are non-envious. Yes. Yes, by appreciation. Yes, general appreciation, specific appreciation. And something very important. Forgetting the fundamental process. Chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. For all problems. Typically, we chant attentively, the purification takes place, and the unaffected can be restored. So then we can understand this. So, when one's heart is thus cleared of material contamination, one can understand this kind of. So one has to become cleared of the material. Then one can understand. And so then, therefore, Prabhupada says, and all these commentaries by the erudite scholars, those are envious of Krishna, they are useless because people are envious. And so such commentaries should be very carefully avoided. Very carefully avoided. So yes, so therefore all other useless commentaries, lectures, everything should be avoided. Okay. Just a second. Let's finish this verse. Okay, let's read this commentary on the verse. Object of worship suitable for a सर्व पहले कुछ तो है. Repeat. The majestic aspect of the Lord as the object of worship, suitable for his servants, and the excellence of that pure devotee are described clearly in the 9th chapter. Bhakti is superior to karma, jnana, yoga, and other processes. As described in the 7th chapter, such bhakti is either pradhani, bhuta, or kevala. And among the types of bhakti, the supreme position of kevala bhakti, which is extremely powerful, not dependent of purity of heart or other elements like jnana, has clearly been shown. The 9th chapter begins to speak about the powers of the Lord required as knowledge in order to perform that pure bhakti, kevala bhakti. The Gita is the essence of all scriptures, and essence of the Gita is the middle 6 chapters. The middle of those 6 chapters, the 9th and the 10th chapter, is the further essence of the 6th chapter. In 3 verses, the Lord praises what he will be describing in the chapter. The jnana, which gives liberation, described in the 2nd and 3rd, and other chapters is guhya, or secret. The knowledge which I reveal in the 7th and 8th chapter, which is suitable for attainment of me, the method of knowledge. Knowledge, bhakti, by which Bhagavan is known as Guhyatra, more secret. Okay, so Guhya is the 2nd and 3rd chapters, which are essentially dealing about, yes, but yeah, and the knowledge about soul and body. And 7th and 8th chapters, because there is a mix of mixed devotional service, pure devotional service, so therefore that's Guhyatara. Continue. In this chapter, I will speak to you knowledge about Kevala or Siddha Bhakti, which is by far Guhyatama, most secret. Jnana is defined as that by which something is known. Thus, Bhakti is called Jnana, since by Bhakti, Bhagavan is known. By the word Jnana or knowledge, one should understand that it means only Bhakti, not the well-known Jnana mentioned in the first 6 chapters. In the 2nd verse, by using the adjective Abhyayam or in the it must be understood that this knowledge is beyond the gunas. It is bhakti which is beyond the gunas, not the jnana mentioned earlier, which is in sattva guna. In verse 3, the word dharma means only bhakti as well. I will teach this most secret bhakti to you, to one who is not hostile or selfish. Anasuyeva. This indicates that there is a rule that bhakti should only be taught to one who is not selfish or inimical. I will teach you this bhakti, jnana, culminating in direct realization of me, vijnana sahitam, by which you will be freed from rebirth or freed from all obstacles to bhakti. Okay, now in this lecture, Prabhupada is explaining what is jnana and vijnana.
Jnana, this knowledge, most confidential knowledge, it is not sentimental. Vijnana Sahitam, it is science. Just like in scientific knowledge, you must know theoretically and practically. Not only that, you simply know that so much oxygen, so much hydrogen produces water by mixing. This is theoretical. You have to make water by mixing these two chemicals. That is practical. Jnana means theoretical knowledge and Vijnana means practical knowledge. So we have to do it practically, not that I have read Bhagavad Gita, so I have become a devotee. No, you should practically demonstrate in your life that you are actually devotee. That is,
one scholar approached Srila Prabhupada and started boasting, I can recite all the verses of the Bhagavad Gita in 45 minutes. I was trying to impress the Prabhupada said, okay, that's all right. But can you live even one verse of the Bhagavad Gita? So therefore, it is a sign. Krishna consciousness is a sign. So science means there is theory and there is practical. Whatever is in theory has been demonstrated. So therefore, whatever we are studying, if we follow, then as Prabhupada many times he says, the result is sure, it is guaranteed. So that is the meaning of science. There's no speculation, there's no sentimentalism. It is perfect, it is definite. And it is applicable for everyone at all time, place, circumstances. It is not that it works for someone, it does not work for someone. Once His Holiness Jadit Swami Maharaj was asked, Maharaj, why do we find that many devotees, they come to the movement, but also many devotees leave the movement? So Maharaj, in his usual style, gave a very precise answer. He said, it shows that the process works. That's the meaning of science. So somebody follows, it has to work. Somebody doesn't follow it, it has to work in a negative sense. So therefore, the important point is, that's what Krishna is telling here. Jnana Vijnana Sahitam. So Krishna is not just giving some theoretical knowledge. He's giving Vijnana Sahitam. He's also giving the practical application. He's also telling how to apply. And the verses themselves, all the verses may not apparently appear to give that Vijnana, the practical application, but the Acharyas are helping us to understand the practical. But then the whole Bhagavad Gita is a science of practical knowledge. It's meant to be practiced. And then what are the results of the practice that Krishna has told very clearly. So therefore, Prabhupada says, so we have to do it practically. Not that I've read Bhagavad Gita, so I've become a devotee. No, you should practically demonstrate in your life that you are truly devotee. That is not. So the practice has to be. So in this first verse, Krishna is the title of the section is what? Hearing Bhagavad Gita, qualifications and disqualifications. So the first qualification Krishna is telling. Now to understand the Bhagavad Gita is non-envy. Okay. In the rule that this should not be taught for personal basis or illegal, because it is taught to a person. So basically, a very not very much because we I think we are very confused and so the whole subject is explained towards the end of the Gita, because at the end of the Gita also Krishna tells. Krishna himself tells very directly that this knowledge should not be taught to one who is envious or who is not austere. And so in those purports explains the two points actually that can be understood from different angles, and the Prabhupada said different things at different times. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita itself, later on, Krishna says that one of the qualifications required to understand the Gita is Shraddha, faith. And so Prabhupada says, yes, we hold open classes on Bhagavad Gita. They could be envious people, no doubt. But at the same time, there could also be people, even if they're envious, they may have some faith. They may have some faith. And so then that makes them qualified to hear. That's one understanding. Second understanding Prabhupada gives is that, okay, even though Krishna is telling don't preach to those who are envious, devotees are more merciful than the Lord. Therefore they preach. This is another understanding. Third understanding he gives is that, okay, Krishna is telling don't preach to those, don't preach the Bhagavad Gita to those, to the non-devotees, So therefore he says, then first of all, you make somebody a devotee and then teach him Bhagavad. So, and a fourth point is that, okay, somebody may have some envy, but at the same time, if he's sincere, he's sincerely trying to overcome the envy, he sincerely wants to progress, then it's fine. Then, as we have just now we have studied that, he can still be considered to be liberated if one is sincere. So, is it
Faith and envy, faith is a positive generation or faith or envy is exactly what envy of not directly or is it
See, as we already discussed, envy towards any living entity is a manifestation of envy towards the Lord. So, if we say that we have to preach to the non-envious, then who is non-envious? Because one is in the material world because of envy. Therefore, no one in the world is non-envious. Then who is? But if somebody has some faith, then he becomes good candidate.
we came to this material world because of our envy towards Krishna. So that means at one point we were with Krishna, but because of being envious to him, we came to this material world. So then, if someone again goes back, like whoever goes back,
Answer that, Baba.
no, yes, Prajay, actually that was about a choice of coming back to material world. That is a choice, but envy is a feeling. That someone is
Yes,
feeling envious about it.
because of the envy, one develops a desire. Both are connected. Because of envy, envy means what, as Prabhupada says in some of his lectures, very bluntly Prabhupada says, that, oh, why only Krishna should enjoy? Why not me? What is that? That's envy. so, so when one has that feeling that why only Krishna should be the enjoyer, that is the envy, which manifests in a desire to enjoy separate from Krishna.
Prabhuji, the answer for that question was that because of suffering so much in this material world, one will not desire only to come back.
Correct.
But still someone can feel envious for Krishna. No? After going back, when one sees the opulence of Krishna, who is enjoying, still I can feel the envy towards Krishna.
But in the first place, who can go back to the spiritual world? Potentially the free will is always there. But then Krishna is giving sufficient assurances in the Gita that it won't happen. So therefore we have faith in Krishna's word that it won't happen.
So, Prabhuji, by practicing this devotional service, the envy towards Krishna directly, that is getting
Directly, indirectly, everything.
like one is envy towards others.
Yes, that is the same thing. Envy towards others is manifestation of envy towards Krishna. So the envy totally is eradicated or should be eradicated. Then only one can understand Krishna. Then only one can go back to the Krishna.
So currently, I am less envious than I was at the time when I chose to come to this material world. Does that mean? Because that time, because of envy, I came to this material world. Now, by practicing bhakti, slowly, at least that is reducing.
Should reduce.
Yeah, at least to some extent. So that means currently I am less envious than how much I was when I chose to come.
Maybe. We don't have any barometers to measure. That depends on the individual. One last question.
We are talking about following instructions and going to the class, studying with the devotees.
The question was, I guess, it was specific for the Bhagavatam class because Swadhyaya is also required. So specifically for the Bhagavatam class, you said those statements? Of course, Swadhyaya means self-study. Swadhyaya. But that Swadhyaya takes place in the asura. But of course, we don't rule out the importance of studying by oneself. Definitely, that is also required. And we can read on our own, study on, no problem. But at the same time, the study in the association has been sufficiently important. Not just the Bhagavatam class. That way, why is most successful. And of course, Bhagavad Gita class. And if not Bhagavad Gita class, then Brahmachari. So that you can have a start. Yeah, that's basic minimum. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Samved Gaur Bhakti. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare